as Mark said, this is our team. So those of you that saw the previous shows, previous webinars, you saw Mark and Andy. We also have a couple of behind the scenes, Kelly Francis, our Chief Data Officer, and Brett Manning, our Senior Director of Public Relations. And I think Brett's on here. I'm not sure if Kelly is today, but Brett is, and just keeping us in line and make sure the communications are going. So, and, you know, couldn't do it without them. We also couldn't do it without our leadership. Melissa Randall, our Executive Director, and John McDonald, our Chief Operating Officer. Without their support, you know, having these and keeping us going, they're amazing. And so it's great to have them on board. So really appreciate any shout out to them as well. So my background, a little bit about myself. You know, I'm not a tech person. My background's between Marine Corps and law enforcement. I was director of campus safety at Columbia College, and then now I'm with MSBA. And like I said, I'm not an IT person. I'm not an expert on AI. What I focus on is emergency operations planning and other safety initiatives. And that includes the safety elements of AI and, you know, both good and bad. So we'll kind of address that today in our webinar. But, you know, there's a lot of amazing things you can do with the technology, and I'll kind of go into that as it comes to safety elements and safety in schools, and then in your personal life as well, your business and your personal life. So a lot of great things you can do with it, but we'll kind of focus this on safety in general. So what's AI? Those of you that have watched this or have seen the other webinars, you know, it's artificial intelligence. It's, you know, when you think about intelligence, what can it do? That, you know, it can do amazing things, but it's still just a tool. It requires somebody to give it guidance. It requires information to be fed to it. It can be used for good. It can be used for bad. So we'll kind of go through some of those today. But in general, we want to keep in mind that it is a tool. And so it's used how we want it to be used. And so we've got to be aware of that as we delve into it. And you want to embrace it. We don't want to sit back and let it go past us and let it be on. We want to keep up with the information. And that's why we're here to help you with some of that and kind of get you started and get the basics. So you might recall that it is a machine, it's a platform, and has the ability to perform tasks normally done by humans in some areas. It learns from experiences. So the AI is actually learning, and from the information we've had, it's been learning for years. So all the times that you've posted something in social media, that you've used technology, these AI platforms have been learning. And I think Mark has probably delved into that in some of his areas, but it's also can solve complex problems. And it can make independent decisions. The more advanced AI versions can actually make independent decisions, but those decisions are based on the guidance we're giving it and the information that we've provided. And it still has to have the human element to provide that guidance. So it's come a long way. And like I said, it's still a tool. It needs our guidance, but we don't want to just dismiss it. We don't want to avoid it. We want to embrace AI because it's here to stay. It's advancing at a high rate, and we need to come to understand it, know how to use it, know how to protect ourselves from those who use it in a way that's not, you know, good. So we want to embrace that part of it and help guide our youth and our next generations on how to use this safely and intelligently, so that it's not used for bad.
If I could interject for a second, can you go back?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Now, this image was created using AI, and can you tell why? Can you go back to the picture, Bob?
Sure.
Yeah. Can you tell any signs here? And Bob will tell you some more signs to look for. But if you have any idea in the chat, how could you tell this was generated by AI? The kids in the back, the bus. Yeah, look at the spelling on the bus, right? Where it's supposed to say school bus. Look at that girl wearing the light blue there. Look at her arm. It's like coming out of her head. So yeah, if you look closely, usually you can see some of the things. Stop is spelled correctly, which is nice. The way the shadow bends on the woman in the front. Oh yeah, the shadow is not correct.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Shadows
the
are
bus,
off.
Oh, the bus is on the wrong side of the street. Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but you're right. It is on the wrong side of the street. And we know it's not a one-way street because there's that yellow line going down the middle. So
Right.
good, you guys are good. All right.
And that's great. And we'll kind of cover this later, but it's great to pick out those details. And interestingly, what I asked for was generate a woman helping an AI robot across the street in a school zone in a small rural town. And that was all I asked to do. And this is what it came up with. So there are going to be discrepancies, and we'll kind of address that here as we go along, but that's great. Y'all did very well on that. So there's different kinds of AI, and this is very basic. Remember, I'm not an AI expert. This is basic. There are various versions. There's your open AI and your closed AI, but there are versions of both of these in terms of generative AI. Open generative AI, that is information that's freely available. So think about that as you're just publishing everything to the world to see. So you're not in a closed network. Everybody can see everything you do. It's like a social media, everything you post. If you don't have the settings set up for your privacy elements and you just open it to public, say in Facebook, everybody can see it. Anybody that wants to click on your name can see all that information. That information is shared. And that's where it becomes a little dangerous especially in a school setting or even your personal lives. Just remember that everything you put out there in an open AI is shared and will be shared to help the other AI platforms or this AI platform learn from everything you're doing. But all that data is out there and is available. So it's like we said, at the bottom, it's a big community project. So you want to be careful when you're using that open AI. There are closed AI systems that you can provide yourselves for, whether it's a business, whether it's schools, that is controlled and restricted access and is controlled within your own server. And it could actually be on your own server. It's not, that information you put in there is not shared publicly. So it's kind of like that private project, just restricted to a specific number of individuals that you choose to see that information. So now there are other elements. You can get an OpenAI system that is a business or executive version that is still somewhat restricted, but that information is applied or is allowed outside in the public, but it's not all at one closed session. So it's not able to read it all as one data segment. So let's say you're putting a policy out there and it only provides certain words. It shares certain words of the policy, but it doesn't share it all as a single policy. So you can restrict some of the versions that are open, but again, can you trust that? If you're putting, PII, personal information out there, can you trust that it's not available to everyone? That's where you've got to be careful when you use these systems. So it's best to ensure you have a closed AI system that's controlled and restricted to a small group. And so what are some impacts? We're talking about AI and what are the impacts in terms of how it's used? There are positive impacts, there's negative impacts. So give us a few ideas yourselves, put it in the chat box. What are some positive and negative impacts that you feel related to AI? Whether it's personal, whether it's business, whether it's a school, anyway. So put some of those in the chat if you would. I'll give you a few minutes.
I will relay those. I put in the chat too, just in case people don't know what PII stands for. Personally identifiable information.
Personal identifiable information.
We abbreviate that because it's a mouthful. All right, let's see what people are saying. Assist students with identifying primary resources for further research. Positive impact is maximizing efficiency, saving time, ability to help children with special needs, save times on routine tasks, time saving, positive, speed.
Good.
Cheating on papers would be a bad one.
Cheating's negative, yeah.
Let's see what others have to say here. We'll give you just another minute. Negative privacy loss, loss of human creativity and critical thinking. I hear that one a lot. Over-reliance, cyber attacks, data leaks, copyright infringement, scams and fraud. Time saving, back on the positive side. Spread of misinformation, create emails, subject lines, manipulation of reality or facts, giving everyone with internet connection the ability to learn. Negative, comfort of teacher-student interaction, using primary, secondary resources, different perspectives, brainstorming, See, the facts of life was right. You get the good and the bad.
They're right. There are good and bad. And there's no way to cover them all, especially in this webinar. So we're just going to kind of cover some of the basics. So we'll start with the good. What are some good things, especially when it comes to whether it's schools, whether it's your own personal life, any of them. But efficiency and accuracy, you talked about that. Did you have something, Mark? Oh, thought I heard you.
Nope.
So efficiency and accuracy. I mean, AI can be used to, to help you become more efficient. The jobs that you would have that you have spent hours, especially if you're writing content or typing content or having to fill out paperwork, or you can actually utilize AI to help speed that process up. Now, you still have to review it, for accuracy. You've got to make sure that it's, you want to review that. There's still that human element, but you can actually, what may take you several days to do, you could probably do in minutes with the help of AI. And that helps increase that efficiency, improve that efficiency of your own job. It's adaptive. You can adapt it. You can actually feed it information and it will fill it out. And it's accessibility. So it allows you to access, more things through your work and be able to, work through more things as you're working through your job. Advanced technology, it's increasing the technology. And we'll kind of cover that here in a little bit. In terms of technology, the AI itself is able to speed up the advancements of technology. And we're doing things now that may have taken years to get to advance to, but with the help of AI, they're advancing much more quickly. Solving complex problems, things that might take you a while and you don't have to go through and Google anymore. Now you can ask AI and it'll solve it for you in many cases. Still, you want to check and maybe double check, make sure it's correct for accuracy, because, AI is not perfect. And then security technologies, and we'll kind of talk about that, but the things that they can do with AI now, your facial recognition, different types of recognition technology, the surveillance systems, the things they can do with that with an AI component included, is amazing, and makes, increases the chances of detecting things that it would take us hours to do as humans, to look at it and review it, and we still may not pick out the small details that an AI platform can do just through a simple surveillance system. So there's a number of things it can do to help increase security. And again, there's always a good and bad part about that, but we talked about technology in terms of advanced tech, medical technology, being able to diagnose diseases. There's been a number of cases where even in a 3D type scanner, an AI component has picked out things and detected certain problems or diseases that the human eye would not be able to detect. Even a doctor looking at it closely and reviewing it may have missed. And those AIs at medical imaging, creating new medicines. They're creating new medicines with the help of AI now that would have taken years to do for a simple, a scientist or a technician, somebody that's create those medicines. But now they're with the AI assistants, they're doing it in days. And of course, now you got to wait on the government to approve those, but they're still getting those out and developing those, creating those much faster than we would have been able to with just the human element involved. Medical research, that again is enhanced, improved health monitoring, the ability to monitor your typical health situation, with the advanced help of AI, and assisting in surgeries. They're now using robotics. They've been using robotics for years, but now with the AI helping guide those robotics and surgeries, becomes much more detailed and able to do more things. You still want that human oversight. I sure would if I was the one, having the surgery done, but there are a lot of advancements in the technologies, not only health, but other technologies, that has been much faster due to the AI elements and components. So another example, your schools, your personalized learning, it can adapt it to the person. So if that student, every student has a different way of learning. With the assistance of AI, it can actually adapt it to the individual students to help them learn faster and more proficiently, through that individual learning adapting and to be able to adapt to them. Automated routine tasks, a routine of the teachers having to build certain, lesson plans, things like that. An AI, what might have taken weeks to build a lesson plan for an entire, semester can be done within minutes, with an AI platform now. and it helps, reduce the time that the teacher has to spend in those projects and can actually focus on other things in their classroom. Aligning education resources, helping those AI, bringing those resources into the classroom, more so than just having Google available, analyzing data and supporting special needs. Those students with special needs now have the ability to do things and to be able to collaborate and work with these AI systems to be part of that mainstream education process. There's a lot of benefits to using AI if we use it intelligently and we use it in a way that supports the good part of our society. So, and then that brings us to the bad. And again, these are very brief. This is a very brief thing to fit it within webinars. So there are so many things out there to be used for both good and bad. So unfortunately, we're going to touch on some of these for bad. Privacy and data security. We talked about that. So that OpenAI system, you can't just put out that PII, that person identifying information out there in an OpenAI system. You got to ensure that you're using a closed system. And don't forget about your vendors. If you're using a records management system or some kind of a system, a company, a vendor, you want to ensure that if they are using AI, and it's very likely they are, because all these companies are going to an AI platform to increase their efficiency in their processes. You need to ensure that their AI systems are also closed and that they have something in their policies to ensure that the information, the data they're receiving, that they're sharing isn't being shared in an open AI system. Equity concerns, fairness. AI doesn't understand bias. AI is going to kick out information out there. And so that's why we need to review the information we're using that AI has produced, because it could be biased and it could provide, and it's not being used in a way that everybody has equal access. So let's say that you have students that don't have the access to the computers and the systems or even AI that other students have. Well, there may be there's an issue there. There's an equity issue because those students that don't have the access that others do are going to be falling behind. And we want to make sure that they stay ahead, they stay up with us, the rest of the students. So we want to be aware of that those equity concerns and that fairness for those students that may not have the same access as others. Dependency over reliance, we had that already. We've gone through the phases of not using calculators anymore. Before that, it was doing the long math and things like that by handwriting. So we're again advancing into AI. We want to embrace it. We want to use it. We want to be sure that the students understand, or that or anybody, even our own families, understand why they're using it and how it's being used. And so they don't, it can become over reliance where nobody wants to do it anymore. You just feed it to the AI and the AI does the work. Well, there could be an issue with that, both in whether it's in school or society. Ethical concerns, they're used for certain things that are not ethical. So it's very easy especially for youth who don't understand the consequences of what they're doing, to be using AI for things that are bad. And we'll kind of touch on that. So social emotional impact, depersonalization. We already see that with a lot of our youth, and whether it's gaming, whether it's just using social media, not interacting, there's no personal interaction. Well, now you have AI, and there's a concern that some will actually consider AI as their friend. So there's going to be, some control issues there. There's going to be a thought process in terms of, do we need to watch our youth and watch our students and how they're using it? And are they focusing on AI, solely on AI, and not interacting with each other? So we want to keep that social interaction there, but still be able to embrace that AI platform and use it for good. So some examples of the bad. We talked about that increased reliance, reduced skills. Those are all things that have been raised before. So, it is going to take our place some of the skills that we normally have used. But like I said, it's similar to the calculators. When the calculators came in, everybody thought, oh, this is the worst thing. All you're going to do is use a calculator. Well, you use the calculator to help speed up the process, but you still want to understand the basics. How is it doing it? What's it doing it for? And then it advanced to other skills. And the same with AI. We're going to be, utilizing that AI to enhance our skills, but we still want to understand the basics. So it's important, especially when we educate, whether it's our families or whether it's students, that we educate in those skills and how it's getting there, and then what's the results, and be able to increase those skills on utilizing AI itself. And as Mark had talked about in his webinar, how to use that AI to advance and to continue advancing. Loss of social interaction, you know, that's just encouraging these youth, especially, but even adults. We see adults that spend all their time on their phones or on their social media. We want to encourage that social interaction and encourage ourselves to be self-aware of that social interaction, so we don't focus and get lost into that world of AI. Digital addiction, again, that, you know, can become increasingly problematic, especially for youth. So keep an eye on those youth, make sure they don't spend all their time working through there, because an AI becomes a friend, and that AI is their only social their social interaction. So we want to be aware of that and watch our youth, especially and disconnection. You know, getting lost in that world of AI. There can be a disconnect, and then there becomes other mental health issues because they don't know how to interact with others. So we need to ensure that that interaction is there and that our youth don't get lost in that. So can these fit in the bad categories? Let's hear some of the chat box. You know, how can they fit in the bad categories and how? So data collection. Anybody any thoughts on data collection? How that can fit in the bad category?
And type your ideas in the chat, if you will. We're just brainstorming here. No right or wrong answers. This is that gray area. We're like, are these good? Are these bad? Are they both?
Bad or good, yeah.
Bob, you missed my rant about this, I think, last week, but I really wish Zoom would tell you when someone's typing, kind of like your phone does, you
That
know,
would be
the little
nice.
dots.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, am I waiting for someone or not?
It'd be nice,
James,
the little pop-up window of the chat.
yeah,
You could,
yeah. James said, tricking AI to give information about other uses on the system. Karen said, potential for PII to be shared without consent.
right.
Andy, could result in unintentional bias. Matt, vendors using student data to train their artificial intelligence models. Karen, spread of your information on the dark web or for sale. Ricky said privacy issues.
Right.
Profiling
Absolutely.
and targeting, PII being leaked. We need to make our membership aware of when they are being scammed. Conversational model can encourage data collection of a much more intimate nature. It's very true.
Absolutely. These are all great. And, you know, you could pick apart any of these. I mean, use of content, identifying patterns. You know, AI can be used to identify patterns, and we'll talk about that here a little bit and how that gets into a worse category. So vendors, you know, like I said, I talked about vendors, your records, your RMSs, your LMSs, your other vendors, your surveillance cameras, the vendors for those, you know, they're all going to be going to an AI platform. If they haven't already, they're going to, because to keep up in the market, to keep competitive, they're going to have to. And that AI component needs to be a part of that contract. It needs to be you may have to amend those contracts if you have contracts with vendors, whether it's professionally or personally. You know, ensure that they know, or that you know, what AI platforms, and are those platforms closed? Is that data protected? It needs to be protected, and there needs to be a way for them to remove that data should that contract expire and they move on. So it needs to be destroyed or removed somehow. So that data needs to be protected, and that needs to be in those policies. Security exploits. You know, you have a surveillance system, you're using an AI platform for that surveillance system. That doesn't mean somebody can't hack in there and use that AI platform against you. That doesn't mean somebody can't use another AI platform to get into that security system and use it against you. So can it be in a bad category? It can. And then, of course, can they fit into good? Absolutely. Each of these, there's an AI platform to be used for good that relates to each of these categories. Sorry. I don't usually talk that much, so I don't like to hear myself talk. So apologize. But you can fit in a good you know, you can collect enormous amounts of data, and that data can be categorized itself and used, you know, in a good way by AI platforms. The content, identifying patterns within a surveillance system, an AI system can be used to identify patterns that can pick out somebody who may be up to no good, or maybe doing something or planning to do something that may not be in the best interest of, whether it's your school, whether it's you in personal life or whatever. that AI system can enhance that ability and identify those patterns. So you don't have somebody watching those surveillance systems at all times to try to do that themselves, and will likely miss that. It's amazing what these AI platforms can do. Can that be good and bad as well? So yeah, it could be if it's used in the wrong way, in nefarious ways. So we get into the ugly. What's ugly? Election interference. Somebody's mentioned that already. Compromised information. How is that used? Somebody talked about the, the dark web, the black market, online safety and security risks. Those are all, good elements that are considered bad and ugly. Can be good, but can also be in the ugly. Cyberbullying and harassment. It's going to be enhanced. Now they utilize AI to create videos, and we'll talk about the deep fakes and things like that here later. Creating those videos to use in bullying other students, other adults. Your politicians are being bullied by somebody using AI, and even our elderly being harassed, being bullied, and being compromised, having their personal information compromised because somebody's used AI in ways, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But online predators and grooming, we get into the really ugly there. These predators are using AI to actually locate and befriend youth as they're preying on them. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But these are some of the ways that it's being used in that ugly category. So remember when all we had to worry about when you received an email, you had a link, you're suspicious, you don't recognize the email, you don't recognize who it's from, and they give you a link, here, access the documents. So, and then, what's the rule? Don't click on that. That has been for years, been the major concern. So now we have AI, we have political influence, we have misleading info. That's all related to how AI platforms are being used. So now AI is sending you emails. Somebody's using AI as a tool to send you emails that will look much more realistic and will actually look like somebody's actually sent that to you. So we have to be careful with those. But that's just kind of the beginning of that ugly element in terms of how it's being used. And then we have those deep fakes. The deep fakes are, we're going to talk about that here, are being used, whether it's for the bullying, the cyberbullying, or whether it's used for political influence and trying to use against other politicians. We get into those deep fakes. So your deep fakes, imagine, this is what you see. You see somebody, you see on a motorcycle, you see the Terminator on a motorcycle. That's where it came from. So they put somebody else's face, they use the Terminator's picture, that image, and they put somebody else's face on there. So it looks like somebody, they're on a motorcycle. This is just a simple example, but it actually came from an image of the Terminator on a motorcycle. And that was, they used somebody's face. So that's an example of a deep fake. And so what they do is that AI system studies somebody's face. They study the structure, and then they create it. They apply that structure onto there and create an image of that person and put that on any picture they want. It can actually be applied to any photo. And it could indicate that you're doing something you're not doing, if you're a politician or if you're somebody that somebody's trying to bully. So they use tricky illusions. They're making it, it's using the computers. They pick a photo out of the computer. Everybody's picture's out there because everybody's used that social media for years. And all that information you've been putting out there in social media has been studied by AI, has been collected out there in data. That's open information. So it's all collected, it's out there. And then they take a picture, an original image, they create a deep fake, put somebody else's face on there, and AI makes it look pretty realistic. As Mark, we were showing on an image before, but there are certain things that don't look correct. And especially if you know the person enough to know that, you can see certain problems with the picture. But if you're just seeing that image briefly, or if nobody knows that person, then they think that's who that is. So it can be done with audio, with voices. Just read here recently about a principal in Maryland who somebody posted a fake audio clip of that principal making racial remarks. Well, it turns out it was another staff member who used AI to create segments based off pulling audio of this principal from different sources and used AI to put together this thing. And now there's a criminal investigation on this staff member because when that principal went to the law enforcement, they pulled it together and found that there were AI created, and it was different segments of the audio section, and it was just an audio clip of that principal. So it can be used in ways that can get you in trouble, and you have to, we go back to just don't trust everything you hear, don't trust everything you see. So here we have some handshaking, just picture of shaking hands. And then here we have another one. More shaking hands. So in the chat box, tell me which one.
Oh, we have a poll actually.
Oh, there's a poll. Okay. Marco, we have a poll. So
I just launched the poll. So which one of these is real? Which one was not AI generated? It's pretty close right now. We'll give everybody a chance to vote here. Which one is real? Give people just another second here. Right. Well, look at this. 52% say left is real, and 48% say right is real. Now, that fact alone tells you how deceptive things can be, right? If about half of us got it wrong.
That's right. So, what's real and what's not? Let's see if mine will advance here. So the left one's the wrong. That is not real. Left one was AI generated. As you can tell, they got too many fingers, and the two fingers on the right hand there are there's a little off. And actually, the right picture is actually correct. That's an actual real picture. So you can see the thing. Just a few things, minor details there, but if you saw that quickly, would you be able to tell? Most likely not. You have to study it. You've got to pick out those details, those minor discrepancies. So good work, everybody. It's easy to get thrown off, and it takes some studying to do it. But once you really look for those details and you learn, you make that conscious effort, but you actually learn and condition yourself to start looking for those details, you'll start picking them out, and they'll be a little bit easier to see as you do it. So here's an example. This photo I created just to show me a person using a hammer. So can you tell me in the chat what looks wrong here, if anything?
Her hand, hair is different lengths. Oh, I didn't even notice the hair is different lengths. AI pictures are getting better and better. Very true. Longer finger. It's not a hammer.
Yeah, that's right. It's not a hammer. It's a strange looking hammer.
Finger. Left arm is too skinny. Yeah, if you compare it to a right arm, it's not the same.
And
left
long,
arm, right
long.
hand,
Yep.
thumb, finger space.
So you get the idea. This was just a simple picture, but AI, there are things that AI has still not been able to do. And it's advanced since then. Since this picture, it's advanced. So, just from a month ago, 2 months ago, that it's advanced to enough to where it's getting better, but it's still not perfect. And there's gonna be discrepancies, and you have to
think about how long the average person looks at a photo on their phone. When you're scrolling through social media or whatever, you're not stopping and counting fingers.
Nope.
You're not looking at every little detail. So it's easy to get fooled by these things. That is right.
So here's another one. I'll ask you to kind of watch it and put in the chat, what you think might look odd, but this is a video that was created solely by AI. It's called Sora OpenAI, and provided a prompt: a stylish woman walking down a Tokyo street filled with warm, glowing neon and animated city signage. She wears a black leather jacket, long red dress, black boots, and carries a black purse. She wears sunglasses and red lipstick. She walks confidently and casually. The street is damp and reflective, creating a mirror effect of colorful light. Many pedestrians walk about. So AI create, there was nothing else. That was the prompt that was given, a very detailed prompt, but provided this image, this video, and it created this video from scratch.
Let's see. Gary says expressionless. Charlotte says left arm's longer than right. Jenny said the shadow placement, the way her feet are moving, are off. Karen
Good,
said others are too in sync and featureless.
excellent. So let me back it up here a little bit. Back it up.
People in the background.
Okay, I'll pause it here in a second. So notice the thumb. Let's see if we can.
Karen said the
Watch the thumb
crosswalk
there.
is at a weird place on the left.
Crosswalk is weird.
Alma said, I'm impressed with her face features, freckles, scars, etc.
Right.
Yeah, she doesn't look fake like some of the gym. Like this is really showing how far we're coming with this stuff.
This would be difficult to pick out the different things. The fingers, watch for fingers. Fingers tend to be a giveaway. And that's whoops, went too far there. But get my highlighter off. I'll let you see the rest of it. But if you watch the fingers, the thumb especially, the thumb is abnormally long. Many of you picked out the walk. The walk is off a little bit. There are some things you see the background, the way the people are moving. Just some things look off, but it would be difficult to tell if you just saw this video at a glance on a social media post, or if it had somebody doing something that they wouldn't normally do, or especially politically wouldn't do, then people aren't going to look for the details. They're going to see it, and they're going to immediately react. And that's where we need to be ready with a message to counteract that. We need to be ready with a message to do damage control, especially if you're in politics, obviously, for our board members thing. But be prepared, have a team available or somebody to assistance, ask for assistance, because you're going to have somebody who can look through this, scrutinize it, and find those details, and then get that message out there. But the message needs to get out there immediately anyway, that you did not or would not do that, whatever was being implied.
You know, one thing I always look for is like spelling errors and stuff like that. But since I don't speak Japanese, I don't know if all
Right.
those signs are real or
Absolutely.
not.
In many cases, there would be something wrong with the background, whether it's a signage or whether it's something, it still hasn't advanced to where it's doing better. So here's another one. Give you a chance to reset, and then we'll play this. So here, this prompt was an instructional cooking session for a homemade gnocchi hosted by a grandmother social media influencer, set in a rustic Tuscan country kitchen with cinematic lighting. And very simple. So here we go again. The wave is a little bit off. The arm movement's a little bit off. Watch the spoon and the potatoes. The potatoes aren't mixing right. The spoon kind of disappears. Just simple things, but very easy to believe. And that was completely AI created.
Lisa said the eggs are huge, but
What's that?
Lisa said the eggs are huge.
The eggs look huge. Yep, they do.
But this one is, I mean, I don't know that I would even, my radar would go off on this
Do
one.
it again. The
Hands
arm
look
wave
to
is
be
off.
different.
The hand waves are a little bit off, but look at the spoon, the potatoes, the way they're moving around, or the gnocchi. And that was it. And it's very simple. So somebody could create an image. They could put somebody's face on that image. AI could put somebody else's face on that image and it would be very believable. So facial expressions, you want to watch those, especially if they apply somebody else's face on there.
Oh, it says the spoon appeared out of nowhere. Can we watch it
Yeah,
one
we
more
can go
time?
back to that.
Because I want to see that now. Okay, no spoon in her hand.
It did appear out of nowhere. Good catch.
Ostrich eggs.
There it
Watch,
goes.
boom.
Came right out of her hand. It's amazing.
Maybe she's just magical. Now it's gone.
This was not the Harry Potter version, so But you know, there again, somebody you pick that out real quick as you condition yourself and you watch for these things. And unfortunately, we have to be skeptical in this world, and we have been for a while, and now even more so. But you know, it's important to pick out these things because when you see these videos, first thing is don't believe everything you see. Just we've always been taught that, but you know, now it's more problematic. So, and so what are some simple rules? There again, don't believe everything you see. First off, you know, it is important that you scrutinize everything you see, especially in these days in the videos. Do your own research. Make sure you look back and do your own research before you believe something. You see social media, don't jump right on it. Don't believe it. If it doesn't seem right, it probably isn't. If your constituents know you, if you're a politician, they know you, they're not going to believe it right away if they understand who you are and what you believe in and what you support. So trust your instincts and then report it. If you know it's wrong, report it. Just like in this case with this principal was in Maryland, was receiving a lot of flack. They were getting death threats, had to have security at his home. And then they did the investigation. Well, you know, the damage is kind of done. So, but doing the investigation, getting the police involved, the law enforcement, whether it's FBI, whether it's local law enforcement, they can actually dig in there and they may use an AI platform to actually tear apart the video or the audio in that case and determine whether or not it was created with AI and whether it was somebody else who created it and what they used to create it if possible. Now that entire audio wasn't all AI. It was they used AI in different segments and then put it together. So, but it came out believable for many people. So because they just heard the statement and that was it. In this case, you know, report it. Make sure somebody knows that it's going on. And we go the worst of the ugly, the online predators. It's easy for the predators, unfortunately, because now they have AI to use as another tool. And you look at how many are online at any given time. And then you consider that 70% of youth accept friend requests without knowledge of the requester. And you can watch videos that show that the students admit that, the youth admit that the young youth, I mean, very young youth, have phones now and have access to online if the parents don't control that. And these predators are out there and they're using an AI platform to help to increase their chances of making contact and befriending some of these youth. So it is important that we get the message out there that we're aware of what our youth are doing and what they're watching, not just at school, but at home as well. So it is vital that we are aware of what they're doing and who they're communicating with. Gaming platforms, the chat rooms and that they use for the gaming platforms, they are full of predators. So that, you know, 14-year-old kid that your child may be playing with online or thinks they're playing with, could very likely be somebody who's much older and with much worse goal in mind. So everybody needs to be aware, alert your families, your friends, make sure they're all aware that these AI platforms are being used and it is helping these predators increase their chances of making contact with our youth. So something to be aware of in terms of the ugly, very ugly. So how's it used to groom? How are these predators using it? You know, they're creating fake profiles or analyzing data. They're generating these deep fakes, videos, audios. They make themselves sound like a young person who would be, you know, until they make contact. So we need to educate. We need to encourage that the parents and the guardians review content, teacher review content. We can use AI-driven tools to actually detect, block, and monitor. There are tools that can be used to help block these and help monitor these. And then have well-developed policies in our education systems, our businesses, things like that. And home policies. I mean, parents need to put down the rules, set the rules, and stick to them and enforce them because the students are, you know, when they're out there online and they don't care who they're befriending, then that becomes an issue because these predators are making contact and they will coerce them into meeting them somewhere else out of sight. And it gets very dangerous.
I just wanted to add, Katie said in the chat, we need to educate older adults, our membership, families, etc., as well, which is very true. If you have
Absolutely.
parents, grandparents who aren't super tech savvy, this new trend is to use deep fake audio and have your
Yes.
grandchild call you and say, I'm in jail and I need you to
Yeah.
wire money or they're gonna lock me up. And things like that can be really scary especially if you're not tech savvy, if you're not aware of these things. So
Right.
definitely share this with anyone you want when you get the video,
Absolutely.
and share the resources on our website as well. Educate people on this. It's
Yeah.
our job, all of us.
And the current trend is a kidnapping. They're using AI they will mimic your voice, and you call your elderly parents and state that you've been kidnapped, and they will or demand a ransom. And they will have your voice. It'll come from your phone number. They will have your voice. It'll sound just like you, and they'll state you've been kidnapped. And the elderly, will fall for it. They can't think it through as well. They can't process it in many cases. Personally, my parents have already had that issue, and we've dealt with that. So, but it is a problem. It's a major problem. So you're right. We do need to educate our elderly, and very much have somebody aware of what's going on, and implement some kind of control mechanisms if you can, or if that's what it needs. So
Something else that I've heard too, Bob, is that you should have people think, if someone calls you like this, ask them like a personal question, or
right.
have like a code or a phrase or something, like, if you're ever in trouble, say this to me so I know it's really you, or something like that.
Right.
So those are good things to think about as well.
And make sure everybody remembers the code. Don't send it via email. Don't send it via text, because those can be grabbed. So, but come up with a code that only you and your family know, or family members know, and make sure that they know that code. So yes, that is important. And that's a good way of recognizing or identifying who that might be. So have those for schools. Businesses have well-developed policies. Use closed systems. Don't use those open AI systems unless you just absolutely have to, or there's some kind of a business element where they can control what the data is, how the data is being shared. Evaluate those vendors and those contractors. That is vital. Like I said, every vendor is likely using AI. If they are not, in order to compete and to stay in the market, they're going to have to. So ensure that they have in their policies a way that data is protected, how it's being protected, and that there is a contingency factor. So if their contract ends, that data is destroyed and or protected some way. Check your emergency operations plans. When your school operations plans should have a cyber element too. Should have a cyber plan or a cyber response plan element that should include the AI elements and how AI is being used in the schools for their systems and their operation systems. Educate and raise awareness. As we've mentioned, not just students, but definitely students, but also staff and also our families, our friends, our visitors. Make sure that everybody's aware of that, and remain alert and vigilant. Question everything you see, especially when it comes to the political, the political world and the situation we're in lately. So research and ask for help. And even research becomes difficult because you look at Google, you can't just take the first things you find in Google. You've got to scroll down and do your research and double check and ask for help. Contact your local law enforcement, your authorities. You can reach their FBI has regional offices. You can contact them, but ask for help. Contact MSBA. We will help you. We'll help guide you to the right, people. So the right contacts if we need it. So you can call us and we'll help. If we can't answer it, we will try to help get you to the right people. Protecting information with policies. Andy's covered a lot of this. I'm not going to go into this. So, but, ensure that you have all the elements Andy talked about in those policies, make sure they're accurate, data privacy evaluation, how are they evaluated, prohibiting misconduct, manage those AI systems, protect that information, keep that information protected. That is vital. And we've all seen companies that have already lost a lot of information. They've been compromised and have lost personal identifying information. So that PII, it is vital that we protect that information, especially for our students, our youth, our staff, our families. It's going to be in there. There is too much information out there, and it is it's valuable. The deep, you know, in the black market or the dark web, they are selling that information. And once they get a hold of it, they get to the dark web, they sell it. It's a business for them. So there's value to that information. Watch for those deep fakes. Check for those odd movements, expressions. You know, you can see movements, you can pick it out. If it doesn't look right, it probably isn't. Trust your instincts. Look for its inconsistencies. Listen to the voice, especially if it's audio or video. You know, listen for that voice, and you'll find those discrepancies there. Investigate the background. You know, when you listen to that voice, especially on a video, check how the voice relates to the movements of the mouth or whatever, or the actions of the person. You can actually tell if it's wrong. Artifacts, you know, in the background, we talk about that. Mark talked about signs, like that school bus. AI has trouble with signage in the back, especially in the background. So look for signs, look for wording, look for things that it can get wrong pretty easily. A bus being on the wrong side of the street, things like that. Compare with real videos and photos. You know, try to find one of the same area and see if that was maybe used to create a deep fake. Use technology and ask for assistance. There are AI platforms that can we have those resources available. They can use AI platforms that can be used to check and see if there's something wrong. And be skeptical of unusual context. So if it doesn't seem right, that person is the focus of the video or the picture or whatever, and you know that person or you don't think that person would do that, then question it, check it out, research it. So trust your instincts. We have AI resources. You can search for those on MSBA's website. We've got some video on there. We'll have more resources coming soon. So I'm sure Mark's talked about that. So please check those. And don't forget your emergency operation plan. You know, like I said, we focus on that cyber element. There is a cyber attack annex in any emergency operation plan, or should be. Hopefully, if you have a school district, your districts have a plan. And then there should be that cyber attack element in there, that annex, but AI may be in everything. There may be an element of AI in all of your annexes, depending on the systems you use for these annexes. So, and there should be a cyber response plan that is linked to your EOP. So we've covered a lot of information just in a short hour, and there is so much more we can cover. I know it seems overwhelming, but the key to staying sane in this world, and with AI especially, is, you know, keep those policies up to date. Make sure you have good, solid policies. Contact Andy if you have any issues with policies or you got any questions. Manage those tools. Those tools need to be well managed. Make sure that they're being used for good in the right way, and they're being used intelligently and safely. Make sure that we manage those tools. Evaluate and manage those vendors. Check those vendors. If they've been a vendor for years, I don't care. Make sure that see if they're using an AI platform. They most likely are. They may be using other vendors, so make sure they check their vendors and make sure that all that data is safe that is going to them. I don't care if it's a surveillance system, that vendor, that's data going to those cameras. You know, who's watching it, who has access to it, who has access to that information. Educate yourselves, the community. You need to embrace it. AI is here to stay, and it is moving on, and it's moving faster than we can. So we need to embrace it. We need to learn about it. We need to educate all of our families, our friends, our, you know, colleagues, everybody, educate them, because it's here to stay, and we've got to keep up with it. And we want our youth to advance with it and understand how to use it and how to use it safely and intelligently. So we need to do the same. We've got to embrace it. We can't sit back and ignore it. It's going to advance on beyond us. So remain aware and vigilant, and review your emergency operation plans. Make sure there's elements in there to address it, to address any AI. Make sure if you have AI systems that are using AI platforms, that it's outlined in there and it's how it's managed. That's important as well. So just remember, you're not alone. MSBA is here to help. We have resources available. There are good people out there. So this isn't, you know, a world full of bad people. So it's out there, and AI is just a tool. You know, it can be used for good, it can be used for bad or the ugly. But let's learn how to use it for good, and let's learn how to detect and deter the others. It's important that we keep on top of it. So just kind of out for fun, I kind of just an amateur playing around. I took my face, said, you know, put me on Thor's body. This is what it came out with. So I just kind of settled for this. So it's just a fun fact. So it was me playing around with it, but you know, you do what you can. All right. So coming soon, Missouri School Board Association, we have a new school safety center coming up that is going to include some advanced training, cybersecurity, and an AI institute. So we are hoping to get that up and running soon. That's kind of the beginning of what we're doing here now. And that AI institute will be nationwide, working with anybody around. So stay with us and reach out if you have any questions. But that is our plan, to get that out there. So get that institute in place. I thank you for everybody for, you know, being here today, especially those of you who not only in Missouri, but outside of Missouri, because, you know, we love having partners out there, and we'll learn from you just as much as you learn from us. So we have a lot of resources, but there's more out there, and there's more for us to learn as well. But here's our email. This is our email. Mark's probably shared those with you already. You'll have this slide. If you have any questions, now's the time to.
I have a few questions that have come in, Bob, that we can address quickly. What platforms, someone asked about what platforms they can use to make deepfake videos like this. Do you know any off the top of your head?
Well, the Sora now is one of those platforms, but they can use Dolly. They can use different you know, there's platforms out there. Any of those AI platforms can actually have an element they can use, but that Sora is the one that's the biggest concern at this point to making those videos, because, and they're actually, even your advertising companies and your, you know, your video companies are concerned, because they're concerned it's going to take over their jobs. But I know that China is coming out of their own version. And when you get other states involved, especially when it comes to politics, and especially national politics, but they're trying to disrupt the entire country in certain areas. So not specifically China, but other states that may grab hold of that platform. And their goal is to disrupt our society and disrupt our systems. And they can do that easily when they use these video platforms. And so depending on who gets a hold of those platforms and who has it, and the state actors behind it, they can cause a lot of turmoil, just locally as well as nationally.
Absolutely. Another question, can AI platforms be used to determine if something has been created by AI?
Yes, and I think, Mark, you've got a list of those resources available on our website. So if you go to that website, pull that up again here.
Yeah, if you go to our website, mosba.org, and you click on, or you just search for AI resources, is probably the easiest way to do it. Or you can ask our AI chatbot. Thank you to the AI resource page. We have that.
Yes, you can. You can certainly go to our to that website, and all those resources are there. And there are a list of resources, and there may be new ones since then. I researched those and found some that were available. So, and those resources, there's some resources in there from AI platforms that can actually detect other AI platforms being used.
But again, don't just let AI do all the work. Remember that human elements too,
right,
to make sure that you're doing your part as well. And another question that came in, what school districts have solid and strong policies regarding AI? And I wish Andy was here, but I can kind of speak to that. A lot of them don't have policies at all yet. We're really trying to encourage them to do so. MSBA has released our own policies, and we're working with districts in our state to adopt those. I do want to mention the Washington, Missouri School District near St. Louis, because they recently voted to adopt the MSBA policies. There was a really good article written about that I'm a little biased because I was interviewed about it, but that's not why it's a good article. It reiterates the important stuff. So we're working to get others on board as well. But Washington, Missouri, AI. In fact, I have the link. I can just put it in the chat to the article if you want to see it.
Yeah, I know there are a lot of schools that have policies, but whether or not they have all the elements necessary, Andy has done a lot of research on that. We've worked with some other partners who have helped out, and national partners who have helped out on our policies. So, you know, check with Andy at MSBA and work with him on those policies, because He has done a lot of research on those, and with the partner we've had in play there, working with him, that they're pretty solid and based off of what is necessarily in terms of the legal aspects. So